Cybernation Uncensored.
Yep. We've gone blank from the look of that. I'm not sure. Oh, we're back again. Yeah, kind of. My lunch. Yep. Okay. Well, I'm Gomi. I don't know, a random person on the internet. I have played played a part as a statistic on a government chart, and I will leave it there for the moment.
Hey guys, it's Rem. I'm in the post-Gen Con fuzz, also the post-COVID fuzz. So, feeling great and got my blue light reflecting on my darkened internal feelings right now.
People were saying they can't hear me. Hold on. Okay, is this better? Can people hear me now? Good. Okay.
Waiting for the chat to respond.
Yeah, waiting for chat to respond. Okay.
Now
we can.
As always, audio drivers, reset what my priority mic was. I love when that happens. Anyways, that's why I don't run the tech segment, which is what we were going to be opening with, as we usually do. Just because, the past few sessions, it has been pretty spooky. So what do you have for us today?
More updates from the darkest timeline.
The lame dark timeline.
I'm sorry. Very much so. There's a supermarket AI app, meal planner app in New Zealand that suggested a recipe that would create chlorine gas. As you would by accident, I suppose, if you didn't really know what you're doing. As I said, it's interesting times all round. Google's wanting, or says it wants AI systems to be able to mine publishers' work unless they actually opt out. This is to basically feed the AI engines more data. And they're also calling for a relaxation of Australian copyright law so they can actually mine more information from websites as well. So, yeah, I can see the faces you're pulling, and yeah, it comes down to, do you trust these people?
They had me at the machine. The ghost in the machine is telling you how to make mustard gas.
Yeah.
Good lord. I've seen the TikTok accidents where people with they're accidentally mixing together chlorine gas or mustard gas in their toilet bowl. That's I get a 10,000 monkeys at a typewriter. One of the little right Shakespeare, I guess. But
So is that representative of the AI already turning evil, or is someone behind it pushing the buttons and yeah, go ahead?
It's hard to know because AI is a black box. We don't know what's going on inside its head. Much like most humans, you can't crack it open and have a look inside. This is another one for sporting venues across Australia. They're now looking at equipping facial recognition technology. And I don't know how widespread this is in other places, but it's sort of a shift towards the more surveillance state kind of thing that's going on. But for me, I suppose the really interesting one is what Google's put together this project, which is proposing a web environment integrity thing, which is basically your computer with your client and the way you've set it up will take a cryptographic hash of it or something and send that out as a token. So when you access a website, the website can decide, oh, right, you're running this operating system, you're using this, you're this person. All right, okay, we'll happily display content to you. So it's designed to sort of see if they trust their visitors. But it's also a one-way street, really. But there are examples they give is like detecting fake engagement on social media, phishing campaigns, non-human web traffic, bulk hijacking attempts, game cheating, compromised devices, etc., etc. But on the flip side, it may also disallow ad blocking. It might block the certain browsers or certain operating systems. The Linux community is a little concerned about that one because being only 1% of the entire world market means that they don't get much of a say in how things work. It may limit web scraping, which is largely legal, but also disallowed under websites' terms of services, and exclude software that would allow downloading from, say, YouTube or Netflix or wherever you choose. So, what is it? Vivaldi, which is another web browser, one of their developers, underlines the vagueness of the proposal and says that it leaves significant margin for potential abuse, like collecting behavioural data. More on the smaller scale of collecting behavioural data, I noticed a Wired article on how do you protect yourself if your school uses surveillance technology, which is becoming more and more commonplace. You may sigh, but the thing is that some of me sees both sides of the argument, but the thing is, it depends on where you draw that line and where does privacy exist. And that's an important question.
None of that has been defined first. So we just keep trucking on forward while we're fixing the tracks behind us, and not even doing a good job at that. So I've gone, I think, Gomi, from your section of the Jeff Goldblum references to more of community when Troy walks in with the pizza box and the apartment is just on fire and just looks around
look,
here it is.
Yeah, and I do want to sort of dive in eventually into the surveillance state and surveillance capitalism, because that's a whole area unto itself and will take a bit of time. But there's a whole reason why I started with the lyrics from Invisible Sun, because it feels more like that dystopian future that the police sang about back in 81, 82. But yeah, so schools using surveillance tech. Facial recognition systems, biometric data, monitoring apps in educational institutions, this kind of stuff. Pass cards to wave and enter a location, be it a classroom or whatever. And as I feel like as society breaks down, these things are going to become more commonplace, unfortunately. But there's a whole ethical issue around what is a person's right to privacy. And I could quite easily sidestep into Australian privacy laws because, oh my God, they've some of the most questionable, let's put it that way. So the first one is the metadata one, where they'll note who you talk to, time duration, communication style, all that kind of stuff. And when the NSA's one of their high-ups has stated that they kill people based on metadata, it makes me a little concerned. But that is part of it, really. The second,
what I'm hearing is so Australia, for the rest of the world, we tease that Australia is God's science experiment. Dog sized spiders, everything tries to kill you. But now it's also like the political science experiment too, where it's like, let's see, but if it goes wrong, we just blow up Australia. That's all. Let's
look. A lot of things get tested here, right? I mean, as a kid, do you guys remember Pop-Tarts? Those wonderful little
Yeah.
confectionaries that would occasionally explode inside your toaster? After I heard a news article about that, the local discount disposal food places had hundreds of the bloody things because they just dumped them here
Oh my lord.
because we hadn't reached that conclusion yet. Where I grew up in...
But
sorry?
we still have Pop-Tarts, but I guess maybe less explodey ones. I don't know.
It was the strawberry flavor because I just remember seeing shelves and shelves of the strawberry flavored Pop-Tarts.
I mean,
and that's missed opportunity to have the exploding ones be the cherry flavor, so you make it, the cherry bomb joke. But that is, see, like way less malicious than. And I was like, oh yeah, Island Nation, you just test out all kinds of weird shit. And I had to won't have to cross the ocean, but I've been playing. I guess been playing too much of what was it, Epidemic, that game where you you're the mad scientist creating the the zombie virus. Yeah. Australia is always the hard one.
Well, yes, but playing the board game Risk, Australia is a reasonably good place to start. You can hold there for a long time, but it's a bit hard to push out from there if you're playing the game. But yeah, next one was the next thing that got passed in 2018 was this Assistance and Access Act, which mandates that companies should provide access to their encryption knowledge or to create the capacity to try, allowing companies to break their own encryption in case the government would like it, which is a backbone to the internet. And then, of course, there's that one step further, where we have this surveillance legislation that is designed to disrupt criminal networks by allowing, I suppose, police officers and selected officials, including, to basically modify, add, copy, or delete data on a person's account. I mean, when these first came out, there was a bit of a question around fabrication of evidence and that sort of stuff, but Australia's kind of leading the way in a lot of those regards. I'll be curious to see what the laws are elsewhere as well.
I have a book here actually because we all know my love of Shadowrun, but I've been looking at the anarchy rules, and they have a whole list of dates of world events and stuff like that in the world of Shadowrun, and of course, I say we because I've had the Kool-Aid now, but Catalyst and FASA before them has been kind of predictive in a lot of ways of what's been coming. In 2010 or 2013, the VITAS virus in Shadowrun comes to life and wipes out a quarter of the world's population. And only 13 years later is COVID.
Yes.
We're 2 years behind in goblinization, so I'm waiting to get my elf years. That is supposed to come, but I think it's 2030. I'm gonna go through this real fast and try to find it again. But in 2030, I think is in Shadowrun the first major matrix crash. Where the U.S. splits into several, the United Confederate States of America, the Native American nations, United Canadian American states. Anyway,
the U.S. and Canada split up the top, and stuff.
But I'm waiting for the major Matrix crash that comes. If we get full VR, don't plug in about 10 years. Just take a year off.
Like a European break, really.
Yeah, all of that happens where it's it's been predictive, and now with what you're saying about all the again we're riding full speed down the tracks here, and we aren't laying the foundation before we drive over it. So yeah, I'm waiting for that it's 2029 is the predicted year.
So what?
If we have full VR, there's been sort of online hack if you're a geriatric millennial like me. So guys, we've been conditioned that plugging into full brain space game bad. It never ends well.
Yeah, but we're talking literally about what Shadowrun has been around 35 years for and telling us not to do, and we're You know, it'd be great AI.
Yeah, then you've got the fucking
Yeah, I mean,
the Lex
Cyberpunk is the
Luthor
same.
looking guy going, but what if money?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm waiting for CFD to start, where the AI becomes sentient and can get into your meat brain and start overwriting your memories. That's going to be great.
Strange that you talk about memories and mind control. Google has developed a mind reading AI, which can tell what music you have listened to based on your brain signals. So put the little hat on and get it to listen in.
Listen, the only hat I'm putting on is the sorting one, because it is math and not science.
Yeah, to take it a step further, Stanford scientists can control specific brain cells at a distance by injecting something that is related to chili peppers into your brain, and then uses infrared light to trigger a response. I have no idea where this will go.
Yeah,
but
put some
Hunger Games
Tabasco
too.
in my central cortex, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's Hunger Games too. It's the tracker jacker venom. Like, we're gonna make you hallucinate, and that's gonna overwrite your memories too. So you know that's.
Yeah, but the thing is that it allows them to trigger certain responses. So I can't remember the exact experiment, but they basically wired up to mice's brains, their pleasure center, a button, and the mice would tap the button until they starved to death. So, having a remote control that could trigger pain or pleasure in people around you because you've injected them with the right sort of drugs using infrared light is kind of sus. And I have no idea how they'd get the ethical pass for these sorts of things, but they seem to have.
There's already no ethical pass for the stuff that they're doing now. Like, they don't care.
They'll say, we could use this to treat Alzheimer's, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
Once again, Gomi, your section leaves me disheartened for humanity, frustrated, and now my mood is going to just change to red. Like, that's just
very red.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I'm just stating the stuff I happen to find online. Now, this is, as I said, the lamest timeline. The thing is, there's also some cool stuff like ultrasound inducing a torpor-like state in animals. So, the right sort of ultrasound played over mice can make them sort of drift off to sleep. It helps regulate sleep, temperature, metabolism, all that sort of stuff. And so it stimulates that brain area and sort of gets them to relax. Now, in Cyberpunk, I remember in one of the Chromebooks, there was the Nauseator, which is a sound-based weapon for crowd suppression. But you then add this, and it's crowd sleeping.
And there's a precedence for things like that in nature to a couple of extents. Like one, there's the pistol shrimp, which literally just like it claps its claws so hard things just die. The pistol shrimp, tiny little thing, but it'll just see a fish and just like do like snap its like Thanos snap at it, and it'll just the sonic pressure is so intense it'll just like it'll just disrupt the signals in the brain and kill it. But then
the vibrations underwater are actually a lot more powerful. When they impact the body, it's like being punched.
Yeah, but then one that I encountered firsthand when I was working as a zookeeper was I've heard especially from my granddad, who was a hunter, and from other people that worked in the zoo circuit say, oh no, like a tiger's roar, it'll just shut your body down. And I was like, sure, man, whatever. But then I saw someone who just got too close to the tiger that was eating, made a face at it, and it roared at him point blank, and that man just had the lights shut off. He just went like complete Gary's Mod ragdoll moment when when his body went, the lizard, like if you play Disco Elysium, the primordial lizard brain just goes, that's bad. And the how sound can impact the people listen to music, it'll affect brain chemistry and stuff too, but something like that level is nuts.
Well, anything above I think it's 160, 170 decibels, which is 160 is the sound of a shotgun going off right next to your ear, basically.
Not fun.
That creates about 1 pound per square inch of pressure. If you go above 194, it's where sound becomes a shock wave, not a pressure wave. And that's the kind of thing that's going to be knocking you around, that kind of stuff. I mean, hell, when, Krakatoa exploded, it was like 350 decibels of sound for an explosion. So fairly intense kind of stuff. But that's just the pressure side of things, not to do with the frequencies and all the other stuff like bats hearing with their sonar stuff. Look, moving into, I suppose, nicer territory. Do you know the author Tad Williams? Most people should. Stone's Farewell, he's done a heap of stuff over the years, but there's a Humble Bundle of 21 books of his, ebooks up on Humble Bundle.
Oh, we're talking about books now? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just going straight into the Humble Bundles that I've looked, because that's happier moments, really. I'd like to escape this world for a little bit and just, enjoy myself. And I've enjoyed his novels. They're always, I found them well written. So if you're after Pathfinder, there is a Pathfinder Tales book bundle, which is about 40 or so novels, short stories, I suspect. I haven't had a close look because I'm not a huge Pathfinder fan, but this is all related to Galerion. Hero Labs has something else that's Pathfinder-ish, including 6-month subscription and access to digital copies of the Pathfinder 2 ebooks. And Traveller, which is a nice, cool sci-fi system. Again, you've got 16 books of that one, enough to get your game started. Also, in terms of online, or well, not online gaming, but things like Baldur's Gate, the computer game series, and that sort of stuff. I assume this is in relation to because Baldur's Gate 3 has just come out.
Mhm.
So you've got a Humble Bundle around beyond Baldur's Gate, basically, which is Pathfinder's Rash of the Righteous, a Netherwinter Nights, Planescape, and a series of the Baldur's Gate stuff. If you're into a post-apocalyptic gaming, is it Modius? No.
Modifius?
No, Modifius, that's the one.
Modifius, yeah.
They've got a Humble Bundle with Fallout and Dishonored in it,
hell yeah.
and a bunch of 3D terrain to suit that. So you can print off your stuff to have a fairly fancy tabletop. And also a 20% discount for Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and Dishonored stuff. So if you want to be going that post-apocalyptic path. And there's also another Humble Bundle for 3D printed sci-fi modern wasteland kind of terrain. So terrains, figures, etc., which covers most of your things. And there's also a small skirmish game called Across the Dead Earth. I did see something for RuneScape, but I looked at it and thought, well, that has the mark of microtransactions with its rune coins, umbral chests, and keys and stuff. So I'm personally very leery about that sort of stuff. Bundle Holdings got a whole... Sorry?
Understandably. Like, it's the... continue. Sorry. This is a lot of
That's
information.
okay.
It's filtering through, and I latched onto one thing and went,
Yeah. Oh, look, as I can talk crap forever. Dice Geeks has got this interesting era bundle, which I've just picked up, and I haven't had a chance to read them yet. But it's basically 11 PDFs full of tables covering different time eras. So you've got modern, steampunk, cyberpunk, fantasy, etc. And it's designed to give you, I suppose, more randomly generated content for your game, which I look at and go, yep, that's a plus from me, which is why I grabbed it. And I'll read it in the coming month. Green Ronin has got 2 bundles up on Bundle of Holding.
I love that.
Blue Rose Adventures, Aldean Adventures, with their adventure game engine.
So, Blue Rose, back in the day, like before it became cool to be woke, they like dared in Blue Rose to have representation and like treat gay people as people, and they got a lot of flack for that. They got death threats. They had all kinds of stuff. So Green Ronin, good company. Blue Rose, amazing stuff.
Cool.
Go get it.
Yeah. I mean, I find those sorts of points of view just, it's people are people, I suppose. Runehammer Games has got its index card RPG up on Humble Bundle as well. Sorry, Bundle of Holding. I've got to get these two right. And the guy who did Demon Lord Legacies and Shadow of the Demon Lord has got a new Kickstarter up, Shadow of the Weird Wizard. This is Robert J. Schwab. I'm going to mispronounce that because I'm hopeless with just the entire English language in general. But that sort of rounds up a lot of things. I mean, there's some good stuff out there if you what you're looking for. And yeah, so I could wander into more darkness with the surveillance state, but I think I'll leave that where it is for the time being.
I will change
Over
my
to you.
color.
Let's rather than I think delve into but like back into the the grim darkness of the not so far future, the grim darkness of the unfortunately near and present.
Here and now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's shift gears since we were just talking about the Humble Bundle. Let's shift over to tabletop. Hopefully that will give us something to be joyous about, or at least laugh at a little bit.
Hey, yeah, that's me. So we've got stuff to talk about. So you talked, of course, you talk every week about AI. So Watsy got into a little bit of trouble. It's it's been 2 weeks. We got to hear about Watsy. So apparently, people have found AI art in their newest books. So they're facing more backlash, and it's hard to tell even at this point, like what is just negligence or like what is intentional. Do they have an artist that just turned this in? Do they have and nobody checks? Do they like? How do Watsy? How do?
But the same thing, like, do you trust your artists? Like, if you say, well, these are our guidelines, it's like, we expect you to produce stuff within, whatever. But, in the last 6 months since this whole AI thing blew up, the question becomes like, well, are artists allowed to use it? Yes or no? And where does that line sit? And I think initially, like, you look at a product coming out now, wouldn't have they locked that down like 4, 5, 6 months ago? So if you've got someone who's playing bleeding edge, they may have got before their policies changed. Just to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, it's interesting again, like because we don't know what happens behind the scenes and who they're hiring and who they've had and stuff like that. But San Diego Comic-Con was 4 weeks ago now, and they booted an artist from the floor that was a vendor that was selling AI art. So again, like it's figuring if we're again putting the train. If we're driving the train and there's no tracks laid yet, which side do you take, and which side is right or helpful? And like, I mean, my go to is kind of we just don't know yet, so wait and see, and don't do the stupid thing. Like, don't just like wallow in there and be like it's cool. Like when you don't know and you haven't, again, perspectives are limited, right? So I'm not an artist, and so I'm not going to make a decision like that for artists that think in a different way than I do.
Yeah, personally, I would experiment with the space, but I wouldn't be releasing my published work using that stuff because it's like nobody knows about it, And like if you're producing stuff that is you've based off copyrighted material, say, as soon as you sell it.
Gangthor's question: was he selling AI art as his own art or as AI? This is for the Comic-Con one.
The con.
The con. I'm
not sure.
I was there. I'm not sure.
I know the artists were celebrating. You were there. We should have.
It was fucking chaos.
Yeah, it was nuts. But yeah, so I'm not sure. I know that like I knew one artist that was there and they were celebrating that he was ejected. So that's all I really know. So yeah. So AI art still a thing that we're figuring out in the gaming industry. But basically, like rule of thumb seems to be from what I see on the inside of the game industry is like if it could cost someone salary, like there's someone I'm talking to right now about a Kickstarter where it's like they have an AI rule book that can help answer your questions, but they've also built the rule book. So they've paid a writer to do the rule book, to do the layout, to do the art for the rule book and everything. So they've done that. And then AI is an additional supplement. And so like I'm still kind of sitting back like, how do I feel about this? Like, I don't know.
And
Well,
yeah,
there's meant to be a.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's meant to be like an online thing where you can upload a rule book and then ask it questions, and the AI will respond based on that rule book. So it's an existent document that's been interrogated by this language system.
And
Yeah.
in one sense, like, because it's ask for like three DMs and 3 players about like 2.5 grapple rules, and you'll be getting a different take every time.
Yeah.
So having a tool like that would be just like a great mediation. It's like, oh well, I've the cyber brain has crunched the numbers. Here it is as like a non-partial rules is written, or if at the very least rules as intended. But the thing that really that sticks in my craw about this, like the AI the AAR was, well, one, like they released a statement which was good job. There's the bare minimum, but like I've got like teachers from college. I've been working on these D&D books since I was a college student. Like since 5th edition first came out, like one of my teachers, he did like the Oni, and I think one of the vampires, and a few of the other like monster manual pieces. It's just like to see this, like, especially it was like, oh, we had no idea his art was AI, and the guy has his own like AI art NFT business on the side. I'm just like, but that to me, that also, I think we're looking at now like 2 for 2 when something did not go through proper QA and like quality assurance between this and then the minstrel art of the Hadozi with Spelljammer.
Yeah.
They need to have someone do a better fine tooth comb with this shit. It's
hard because like I sit on the line where I'm not a skeptical person, so I like to trust until I'm given a reason not to. But I've also been a manager, which means I need to trust but verify, and so it's like doing that double check, or in the gaming industry, you don't have as much of a like, well, let's process your application and do a background check and figure out like, do you have any NFT sites on the side? Like,
Yeah,
it's hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the gaming industry in general, the margins are razor thin from what I hear.
Yeah.
And so, where you can cut corners, and I'm not saying cutting corners is good, you trim the fat and you run the express train. And yeah, there's risks with that sort of course of action.
Well, but
yeah.
I think also it's how you handle it. And WotC is a big company. Like, one of the things that I'm a white woman. I come from a place of privilege, right? And I don't know what I don't know. So one of the things that comes to mind for me is we were running Shadowrun on Gen Con TV, and my players got upset, and we took a break and talked about it. Well, we were talking about Black Ice, the programming that will hunt you down and stuff like that in the Matrix, and I thought they were all upset because of ICE, given ICE and immigration and all that kind of stuff, which understandable and stuff like that, but spelled different, and like I was kind of in the middle of that one. But here, what happened was there was a type of black ice called tar baby ice, and I didn't realize that tar baby is actually a very offensive, has a very offensive history. So as soon as I realized that, and we talked about it, I actually emailed the line developer for Shadowrun. He was like, cool, it's out of the next printing already, done.
Brilliant.
So again, like, it's how you handle those situations, and I don't see that's what we don't see WotC doing, right? Like, we don't see them like, oh shit, we fucked up, we're real sorry. We're gonna back this train up a little bit, and I'm in trains today. I don't know what the deal is. Train day, but we're gonna make this right, and here's how. And that's
what I love about what MCDM did with one of their printings of their it wasn't Flea Mortals, it was one of the other ones, Kings and Warfare. They discovered a whole bunch of typos and mistakes, and so they were really upfront with all their Kickstarters and saying, hey, how do you want this dealt with? And I think that's the kind of course or piece of action that a WotC really needs to take with what they're doing. to start that community engagement and say, hey, look, we did this. Yeah, okay, that's not right. We need to fix it.
Well, it's hard because, you've got Hasbro behind it, who's so out of touch with this side of the industry, where like people are involved and people do want to their opinions to matter and their voices to matter. It's a very chatty community, and so like I get the perspective of normal business where it's like, oh, we are not going to acknowledge, we're not going to acknowledge, we're not going to acknowledge, but that's not what this industry demands. So it's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, you look at gaming, and gaming is a very people-focused kind of thing,
Yep.
where the product that is produced is the rule set is just designed to support it. It's not the product. The product
Yeah.
is you and a bunch of friends around a table having a damn good time, telling stupid jokes and just having fun with it. And the whole mechanism of role play is meant to sort of enable that.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So let's talk about non-WotC.
Yeah. No, because
I
still have yet to be to go to a Gen Con, so I'm excited to hear what yummy things came out.
So, well, there's two big things that I was very busy at Gen Con, so I didn't get to hear and do as much as I would have liked to.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did hear that Renegade is going to be releasing a Welcome to Night Vale RPG.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty neat.
I've 20 episodes in, and I sort of got distracted and stopped listening, but oh boy, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So that's going to be bizarre and silly and goofy, and like there's so many IPs that are up for grabs out there right now, and people are saying yes to it when it comes to gaming, which is pretty cool. The other thing that was too big at Gen Con is the release of Lorcana, which is the Disney Magic the Gathering card game. So it started Thursday. Like the lines went around part of the front of the convention center, out the side doors, across the convention center, out the door, and around the block for at Gen Con and at the Indianapolis Convention Center. And finally, they didn't have queues set up. So Thursday it was just a zoo. And then Friday they had stanchions set up and everything. And people started, the first time they'd done this with at Gen Con before, where people could start lining up when the hall closed the previous day at 6 p.m. and could wait in line until the hall opened at 10 a.m. and go in. So it was nuts. And there's all the drama that comes with it. Like these are different types of gamers. Like you're either there because you love Magic and this is a new thing. You're there because you love Disney. You want the rare cards because you want to sell them and make a profit. Like there's these different conflicting reasons people are there, and it's not the usual Gen Con experience. So there was a fight in the line that happened. There was people were selling all, like within minutes of getting their box. They opened the box, found the rare cards. I don't know how they know which ones are which already, and they were selling them on eBay for thousands of dollars.
Wow. Well, the One Ring card that was up on somewhere or people were asking for $1 or $2 million for that card.
Yeah,
because there's only.
I think it was like was it like I think Post Malone is the end up getting it. Like I know it's like a big name rapper that I'm blanking on the name now that I'm I'm under the spotlight. But they like a big name musician picked it up and won the auction. I was like, more power to you, but also good lord.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder as well, because this was the first year that Gen Con was kind of back in their numbers from the pre-COVID, like they were at, I think for their 50th anniversary, they were at like 70,000. The number I heard, I don't know if this is accurate, but the number I heard thrown around at the con this year was 85,000. And so you start to wonder, like, how many people are just getting their ticket just to get Lorcana and go, that the rest of Gen Con they don't care about. So yeah, it was a bizarre experience. It was different than the usual Gen Con for that reason. the other thing that happened, there was a heist that occurred during setup where two individuals walked onto the setup floor, the vendor hall floor, and pallet jacked onto a cart $300,000 worth of Pokemon cards. Pokemon is the last thing I've heard. So, and like Indianapolis police have been looking for these two guys. They have video surveillance of them. They apparently got into a van or something like that. But
I mean, I've heard stories of
Gen Con Pokemon heist of 2020.
Yeah,
the only thing of that, like that level of like comic book, like Gotham City, I'm gonna steal the Gotham City Diamond, Batman. Like that kind of like mustache twirling villainry was at Comic-Con in the mid to late aughts, where a San Diego bank was robbed by a guy just as Darth Vader and stormtroopers. and I'm like, that's the perfect guy because there's so many Vaders and stormtroopers. It was absolute madness.
I'm thinking
this is like someone paid Payday 2 got the worst kind of inspiration. Rio Pell, that's a thing that happened. I was, because during that time I as an associate that I would get my ticket through just by shipping books. Haul his books from LA down to San Diego. That's where I'd usually get my badge. I was like on the way back, like hearing that, just like in the like the liminal space of the back rooms. Darth Vader and some stormtroopers just robbed a freaking bank in downtown San Diego. And it's just that, because everything's congested, the police are gonna take way longer to show up. The costumes can just be tossed into the trash once you melt to the crowd. Like, that's how dare. I believe they ended up getting caught because like the costume gloves were too thin, so they not thick enough to
stop the fingerprints.
Yeah, to keep fingerprints from transplanting, so they're able to find them. But still, the fact that that happened, that someone went like, I've got an idea. No, that was.
But it's also thinking like Christopher Nolan's Batman movie where the Joker goes in with the team and they're all in the same sort of mask and get up.
Yeah.
Did he hear about this? Or did somebody copy the movie, vice versa? I'm also curious, as Ganthor did on the chat, about what would be the percentage that the fixer would take for trading the Pokemon cards? Or are these diehard fans that are going to hold on to them forever?
I mean, if you steal that, like a dollar value of Pokemon cards, like that many Pokemon cards, and just for the sentimentality and not to resell them, I guess like more power to you. You're more of a Joker Rorschach type than Two-Face, I guess. But
yeah, it's man, that's wild. And to value them, because again, like they all have different values, so to be able to value them at $300,000, and it doesn't even look like that big of a palette, because you're talking like, gosh, what does it cost to produce a card pack? Maybe $1.
That. I mean, a real CD is something like
depends on how many cards come in it and how fancy the wrapper is. Like, but going for $300,000, man. So that happened at Gen Con.
Would that make them more valuable on the secondary market that they'd been lifted from Gen Con? It's just a weird question. I'm just thinking, like, if you know that
you're not wrong. You're out of line, but you're right.
Yeah, it'd have to be the values of the packs, but I'm just thinking, would it? Because you look at weird things like the penny black stamp that got used, or that was unused, and there's one with a misprint that is more valuable because it's unique. And so this makes all those cards on that pallet, as long as they're, I suppose, plastic wrapped in their boxes with the shipping information on them, potentially more valuable.
Yeah.
So it's Anyhow, sorry.
Well, so that was the down and dirty of Gen Con. And then coming up next, because I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, it's Dragon Con. So that's the big one in Atlanta, big on cosplay. I think that's the first weekend in September. So it's that's coming up, and that's a whole nother. That's one of the things that's exciting about all the different conventions. Is they each have their own personality and their own like theme. So even if there's multiple that are board game or whatever, you're going to get a different experience. Like Gen Con is the spectacle. San Diego Comic-Con is everything that's even like tangentially nerdy. It's like they had a NASA booth there. Funko Pop had like a whole village. You have every type of anime, every type of like what's the Lore Olympus, the Hades and Persephone graphic novel that's been like a huge romantic thing that had a huge line. Like, so you've got and Marvel, you've got everything there. Where Gen Con is gaming, is board gaming particularly. And then you've got, Dragon Con, which is all cosplay and a little bit of gaming and a few other things, but
the beautiful thing about going to a cosplay convention is you get to see all these wonderful costumes. Like, I found someone who had done Moss from the IT crowd, and she had a little internet with them. So she gender bent the role and that sort of stuff. And it was just glorious to see. But it just, wandering around a con, you kind of get to see snippets. But one of the great things is actually being in the artist alley, and I was helping out for a table, and just being able to see all these people just drift past casually, and you just get to see so much more of it.
Yeah.
As an experience.
Yeah, the talent and skill that goes into some of those costumes, the makeup, the effects, all of that stuff is really cool.
Yeah, and one thing that was a little strange, because it was like kind of the first time of my time attending Comic-Con that had more or less returned to form, of it being more comic related, because of the still ongoing writer strike, and then the actor strike that kicked up kind of right before it. I guess that this will be our segue into the into geek shit, unless you've got more to add, Rem.
No, please take it away.
All right. So, but yeah, it was for the first time in a long time, Comic-Con was mostly about comics. The Hades Persephone graphic novel was definitely like pick that up. It was, I do like try and network there when I can, but then like as a writer, and then like the writer's strike, so there were no writers there, sucked. But still be able to like go in and just like get a bunch of comics. I got myself something a little special. Those of you who know Dune, I got myself the Atreides signet ring. It is hefty.
Have I told you that Kevin J. Anderson is one of my clients?
That's a discussion for later. But yeah, though like there were like a lot of the panels were very anemic because they had to scramble and do like pre-recorded things, except for the exception of like there was an Indian film, Project K, which is by the guys that did which is the same studio is making a big like sci-fi epic. None of them are under SAG, so they were there. That was cool to see. It was a huge spectacle of it. I'm very excited for them for that project. It looks like Dune and Riddick had a very edgy baby, and I'm here for it.
Cool. Okay.
But also like getting to see the crossover episode between was it Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks was hilarious. And seeing some sneak peek stuff at the John Wick Continental show, that because they showed some of the action sequences, and despite being an episodic thing, it's like mini series, they're all about like an hour and a half, but like the action was on point.
Nice.
They made they elevated it to something that works for film. So I think for television. It's one of the best choreography I've seen in a show since Into the Badlands. Which, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's really cool. It is Fallout meets Chow Yun Fat. Lots of
okay.
yeah. It's like, it's post-apocalypse, very post-apocalypse. Guns are banned. So everyone does kung fu. It's awesome. But on things that more immediately released, the primary things being, of course, Barbie and Oppenheimer, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of which were amazing. Oppenheimer is it's Nolan. You kind of come to you expect, when it's Nolan doing something that is his own work and not something for a pre-existing IP. When he's doing his own thing, he does it really, really well. And Oppenheimer is one of those where, while you can, if you're interested, you have to go see it in IMAX or whatever is near IMAX in your region, because when the bomb goes off, spoiler alert, a movie about the atomic bomb has it go off. You feel it. You feel it in like the roots of your teeth.
Oh wow! Because I saw a promo on it that was saying that it was as accurate an explosion as they could get without actually detonating a nuclear weapon.
Yep, a shitload of TNT. Yeah. But as there were no special effects used for the bomb, which is
wow.
I was like, okay, Nolan, extra, but oh sure. But
look, there's something different when you capture the scene in the camera. Digital effects never quite look right. They've got a hell of a lot better in the last 20, 30 years, but there's a reason why The Thing from 1982 still holds up today and stuff like that. They put it into the camera, it's baked into the film. So yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. Barbie in kind was hilarious. I was always indifferent to Barbie, just because some people just hate it. Some people love Barbies into their adult years. It's one of those things where like the only time I always go, oh Barbie, it was when it was like it'd be the Happy Meal option when I was in my single years. But by single digits. But I do tend to get the odd Happy Meal every so often. But hey, no, but the one is the people that say, oh, the movie's anti-man are just vastly insecure in their own masculinity. The movie's a great talking piece, and I love that the Barbieheimer memes got like theaters just folded, like, oh yeah, get a double feature, 50% off each ticket. That's genius. It was a thoroughly enjoyable, very tongue-in-cheek, is that kind of like fantastic kind of meta level humor, very similar to the Lego movie. My headcanon that they exist in the same cinematic universe.
I have to ask about Across the Spider-Verse. Have you guys seen it yet? Because I've missed out on it here.
Yes,
I have not gone to see it yet. I'm very sad because I loved Into the Spider-Verse.
The new Spider-Verse movie is very good. Sadly, the studio is overworking their artists. They're backing off after they got kind of muckraked on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter.
No, I refuse.
I love they've renamed it X and called it X-Itter or whatever. But in Chinese, X is pronounced SHI, so that just makes it shitter. But
so funny story, the X logo. I went to Twitter, saw that it changed, and then it promptly forgot about it again. So I was trying to X out of a window, and I was hitting the logo itself. Whatever. Yep. It's like, for me, the Sears Tower is always going to be the Sears Tower. Like, no.
Yeah, but then the one final, and jumping off of the Into the Spider-Verse, because Across the Spider-Verse, I think, is it? But the Into the Spider-Verse, the first of that movie, started a whole like renaissance in
2D animation,
and it's like 3D as 2D, kind of like this weird mix of that has been taking major studios by storm. Last Wish did it, the Puss in Boots film, and from like the writing and the art style of that, amazing. But then the latest one to like take that and like twist it and elevate it and make it their own was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem film, which I loved.
Really?
It is the first time the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are actual teenagers. Like the voice actors all sound like teenagers. They all act like teenagers, constantly talking over each other. They're speaking in like Gen Z and or I guess the Gen Alpha and like current like teenager generation like meme speak. There's a segment in the film where they play Hey Ya, what's going on, but it's not like the original song. They play the He-Man YouTube cut. I'm sitting there going like, no, there's just a point I hear in the background of Skeletor going, yeah. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, it's a complete meme film, but it's so good because the art style is very reminiscent of like if you were like to like go through like your old like high school composition books, the weird little doodles you do in the margins. It's very reminiscent of like that kind of like juvenile art style, which it takes some getting used to, but it's so rich.
Because you mentioned Ninja Turtles, I have to humble brag, except I'm not going to be humble about it. So at Gen Con, I got to go to a dinner and I sat next to Joe Manganiello, and he told me all about the original Mutant Ninja Turtles, the black and white that was apparently super dark.
The original graphic novel was very dark, lots of blood, lots of violence. A friend of mine had a copy. Oh, yeah, it was glorious. And then it became discovered by, I don't know, us teens at the time. Because I remember, like, I've got a copy of the Turtle Power song on 12-inch single in my record collection because I was mad for it. Used to play the computer game as all the way through on a single credit because much of a misspent youth. But just being able to hear his take on it and stuff was just,
Yeah, that was super cool. So I need to hunt that down and check it out now because really cool stuff with how like the origin story of Splinter and stuff like that. So I'm on board. Also, just honestly, anything he told me to do, I would probably go do. So,
that's the. Otherwise, I'm just looking forward to the Ahsoka show coming out at the end of the month. I've been chewing the skin off the inside of my cheek looking forward to that movie. That show. But also because it's also I think the last performance of one of my favorite actors has been for a long time, Ray Stevenson. And so I'm hoping that it sends him off with a bang. We lost Ray Stevenson, and then I'm blanking. He played the Titan in Destiny 2. I am terrible with names. Shit, I'm a terrible person. I love his work. He's the concierge in John Wick as well. It's late. My brain is fried.
I don't know his name, but yes, he died recently.
At the start of the year, concierge. Lance Riddick. Lance Riddick. There it is. Sorry, everybody. But Lance. Losing Lance Riddick and Ray Stevenson, with actors I've enjoyed the careers of for a very long time. John Wick Ford was a fantastic send off.
It was fun.
A fantastic send off for Lance. And every project he touched in the past 2 years, like they all was it between Destiny 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, like they all just trashed the guy. He will be missed. He was a fantastic actor, and Ray Stevenson as well. He was Volstagg. He was Punisher for a time. But I'm looking forward to finally seeing Ahsoka take her place on the big screen with one of my my favorite actors through my teen years being one of the villains. That just about wraps it up. I do not have a book review this week because we're out of time. Go ahead.
There's a Kickstarter going on at the moment for a Good Omens novel. graphic novel illustrated by Colouring Doran. Of the £25,000 it's trying to raise, it's currently sitting at 1.3 million.
Jeez,
And
pounds to dollars. That man.
that I'm getting Australian dollars here, so that's irrelevant because that's a confetti currency. But yeah, 1.3 million pounds. It's still got 19 days to go. But I got one of her other graphic novels, and it's beautiful sort of illustrations to go with the story. I've got to assume that Neil Gaiman penned the thing because he's had collaborated with her before. So yeah, but it's up on Kickstarter, and have a look for it. Good Omens, the official and ineffable graphic novel.
That's another thing. Good Omens season 2 was also incredible. That was
my. Oh, go ahead.
No, it was. I get highly recommended. Because it's Neil Gaiman, and it was an elevation over the series before.
Oh, brilliant!
My book review, I have not read it yet, but I will be running a Kickstarter for Kevin J. Anderson that launches in September. That is a novel of Persephone, which is based off of a screenplay that he and a film producer are working on bringing to the screen. And it's basically about life on the closest viable planet, which is Proxima B. And they call it Persephone because it's easier to say than Proxima B over and over again. So that's coming to Kickstarter mid-September. I don't have a link to it right now, but I might have a link.
In September, you could.
Yeah, for next month, I could
next month. We got time.
And I'm totally marketing right now to Alex because I've learned now that Alex is a fan.
Listen, I am not like I've been recently just for work purposes and inspiration for my own personal writing. I'm chewing on three books at the same time. Which is they're all, well, one being Foundation. Was it the
book.
Foundation, Dune, and then the three body problem.
All of them excellent books.
Yeah, I've read Dune before. It's been a long time since like high school since I've read Foundation, and I have yet to go through Three Body Problem properly.
With Foundation, I assume you're going to read, is it Second Foundation and Empire, and then
I've been sitting on like 6 Audible credits, and it's like, for like 2 Audible credits you can get the entire series. I think I don't mind if I do. Yes, hello, cat.
But the Three Body Problem is also
flashed on the international interwebs by your cat there.
Yeah, well, he's a himbo. He's from one ginger to another. We share the one brain cell, and he's demanding it back.
But yeah, the Three Body Problem, I just totally geeked out over the nerd stuff going on in that and all the physics and stuff. It was an enjoyable read.
But that is thank you, Gankthor, for £1 is 1.27 USD. Okay, so about almost $1.50. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Damn. But on that note, thank you everyone who has tuned in to our little nerdy show where we talk nerdy by night. And my cat's biting. It's now time to feed him, I guess, before I become dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I have been your perpetually disheveled and the cat-bitten host, Alex. I have been once again joined by my illustrious co-hosts, Gomi and Rem. Gomi, Rem, give them your socials wherever they can find you. Before
I'm doing the Impossible Emporium, barely touching it, along with its YouTube channel, mucking around with doing virtually nothing these days. That's pretty much it.
You can find me at Rem Alternus Productions on Facebook, the Rem Alternus I'm barely on Twitter. Don't bother with that. But Rem Alternus anywhere. I'm kind of the only one. And we are going to be doing a lot more streaming on the Shadowcasters Network and on the Catalyst YouTube channel. We did a huge at the con live stream every day at Gen Con. There's going to be more and more and more coming. So Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for everyone who tuned in once again, and until next time, I will be seeing you later. All right. Oh God, where's the transition card?
Cybernation Uncensored.